Hi guys, welcome back. It's Natalie, and thanks for coming back to the vlog. We're kind of in the middle of all this myth killing going on, which makes me super excited because I hate lies and I hate myths. And this one in particular today is this soul-sucking little devil. He is a confidence shaker. He's the one who takes down introverts. He's the one who makes people feel like, oh, I don't have what it takes in order to lead a great ministry. And he is the myth of the great and charismatic leader. Now, this is a pretty tempting myth. It's tempting because oftentimes we can look at those extroverts, the people with those bright, beautiful personalities who are the social butterflies. They can go around any event and shake the hands of any person. They could get up on a stage and give this amazing talk. They are so easy to compare ourselves to and say, do you know what? I just don't have what it takes, not like that person does over there. And if you feel that way, honestly, you're actually in excellent company because Moses felt that way too. When Moses first receives his call from God, Moses won't stop arguing. He's just nonstop. God's like, I want you to go do this great deed. And Moses is like, who am I to do such a thing? I am a murderer. I couldn't. What's the authority sending me? Is like excuse after excuse after excuse, but he's beginning to run out of excuses, and one of his last is, if you please, my Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past, nor now that you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and tongue. Moses knows he's not a stand in the front of the people kind of guy, and he's concerned about that. He's worried about that. And God, who recognizes that Moses is going to be one of the most powerful leaders that Scripture is ever going to see, calls him out and says, well then, we'll delegate that extrovertedness to your brother Aaron. He can be the tongue, the speech giver for the people, but you are still going. In previous vlogs, we talked about the difference between working in ministry, on ministry. Here's a scriptural example. Aaron is going to be up in front doing the speech giving, but it's Moses. Moses is the guy who's going to work on the ministry. In fact, what this guy does is that he is the one who builds the systems and orders the entire Israelite people so that they could have an identity as a people. He writes Leviticus, he writes Numbers. Interestingly, you can see where he starts getting some of this chaos and ordering it in examples such as in Exodus 18, where he literally sets up a court system, delegates a rule of justice for the entire land. He's brilliant at working on the ministry. He is something that in the book Built to Last, they're going to call a clock builder. Now, this image of being a clock builder is an important analogy that the book's going to come back to over and over and over again. And this is how it works. They say, imagine that there is a person who has this amazing gift for being the world's best time teller. And you go up to them in the middle of the day, and without referencing anything, they can give you an answer when you ask what time of day it is. And they'll look at you and they'll be like, well, it is 3:43 in the afternoon, approximately 57 seconds. They have this amazing gift to tell time, and then everybody starts talking about this amazing time teller, and soon everybody's coming to the time teller. And the thing is, the time teller cannot possibly tell the whole world at every single given moment what time it is. The time teller decides that he is going to become a clock builder, that he's going to build clocks and teach other people how to read them so that everybody in the world could tell the time just as well as he does. Now, clocks are extremely intricate machines. They have to be perfectly balanced. The gears have to be perfectly in tune. It takes a very special mind to build a clock. The book Built to Last points out the best leaders are clock builders. Now again, going back to previous blogs, if you are working in ministry, that means you're a time teller, that you're able to tell the time. But if you're working on ministry, which means that you're building the systems, you're a clock builder, and you have the ability to be able to take the efforts of hundreds of people to identify the resources available in your local community, that you build the systems that are able to integrate the efforts of all those different collaborations and connections so that they work perfectly together, so that the mission is accomplished by literally hundreds of different operating parts working perfectly in sync. That's what clock building leaders do. This was such a surprising find for the Built to Last researchers. They honestly kind of thought, oh, we need like these charismatic, visionary leaders. But what they discovered over and over again when they went to these 18 visionary companies, again, 18 visionary companies out of roughly the 1,600 of the best companies in the world, and looking through the histories of these companies, they consistently found that the leaders were these clock builders. They were not focused on their own power. They were not focused on their own glory. In fact, when their biographers would describe these people, they found a consistent wording. They were called soft-spoken, a good listener, humble, modest, unobtrusive, a quiet person, that they were thoughtful, that they were serious. One person was even described as slightly stooped. Many of these leaders were not the loud in front of the crowd personalities, but they had something else going for them instead, and that was that quiet humility. What they did next was that they went to the comparison companies to see what kind of leaders did these guys have. And again, their leaders were also extremely capable, but they discovered some really big differences. One, these leaders were often described as harsh, really controlling. One guy was even said to carry a riding whip next to his desk, and that he all the time he'd be taking out this whip, cracking it for emphasis. That there was this really big difference between the comparison leaders and the visionary leaders in their character. Now, don't get me wrong, you can have a charismatic and bright, beautiful, vibrant personality, a little social butterfly, and also be a fantastic leader. If you want a scriptural example, look at King David. The reason why I wanted to make this particular video is to encourage all of you introverts who maybe have exactly the skill set needed in order to be an amazing leader, and to say that that myth, maybe what's holding you back and saying, oh, I couldn't possibly be that person because I don't have that extroverted personality, that you don't need that in order to be a leader. It is helpful to be charismatic, but it's not the end-all be-all. Clock building is difficult work, thankless work often. And again, thinking about Moses, because that was his gift. Again, there's lots of stories about him being in the front and doing all these cool things in front of the people. But have you ever read the entire books of Leviticus and Numbers? Most people haven't, because it's kind of like death trying to read those books. They are awful. But do you know what Leviticus and Numbers did? They gave system and order to the Israelite people. It gave them a rule of law that they were able to grasp onto, that gave the Israelite people an identity to help them thrive as a nation and as a culture. And that is hard work. Hard, hidden, thankless work. Nobody likes to read Leviticus. How fun do you think it was to write Leviticus? Probably not much fun. That's the kind of work that clock builders do. So, here are the questions for the week. Would you say that you're more of a clock builder or a time teller? And why? I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Comment below. And if you have a friend maybe who is just that steady, humble system clock builder, tag them below. Say this video made you think of them. And don't forget to like our Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube page so you can keep getting these videos in order to help. Hopefully, I sincerely hope that these would help to encourage you in your ministry and to continue building a stronger foundation so that God can work through you to change the world. Thanks for all you do. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.